Hey, everybody, this is Dr. Dave Nelson. I'm the director of the Scotland Study Abroad program, and I also teach the history classes for that. We just hit our deadline last week. It's March 24th, so last Friday. We finally got everybody signed up, and we're actually completely full. We have 20 in each session. So we will be meeting each other on May 14th in Macon. Normally in the past, we would meet about a month before we left, usually in mid-April. And we moved it this year. The Georgia Goes Global folks, the folks you've been dealing with, like Cassie, they wanted to kind of have all the programs meet at the same time, which makes sense. And so we got moved up a little bit, or actually moved back, I guess you could say, which is kind of good. My son's birthday is in mid-April. It's always kind of weird. So I'm kind of glad, in a way, I'm kind of glad we're holding it later. The downside is there are some things that, because the first session leaves in May. I mean, so they literally a week after we meet, you guys will be leaving, and there's some things you need to be thinking about longer than a week. So to kind of make up for that crunch time, especially for session one, I decided I'm gonna make a couple of short videos. I mean, this is kind of the legacy of the lockdown, is now we all make videos all the time, and I don't know how many. My students from ABAC will tell you, I always say I'm going to do a bunch of stuff, then I do just a little bit of it. So it may only be one or two videos, but I'm going to try to make some videos before orientation to go ahead and get you thinking about some things. And even though I may repeat the same material at orientation, you already have the info. So anyway, this will be the first of hopefully a few. We'll see how many. The other thing I'm going to send this out as an email, but I'm also going to try in the next few days to create a Facebook page for the program for both. And I'll probably do one for each session. We'll see, but I may do two separate ones because really session one folks don't care about session two and vice versa. I think of you as one big group, but you guys, it's really two separate, even though they're doing almost the exact same thing. It is two separate sessions. We do have a website for the classes. They're not available yet, but a D2L. At my school, we call it Georgia View. I know everybody calls it something different, but each class, the history classes, the psych classes, the English classes, will each have their own D2L site where we can share assignments and put up videos. I have lectures on mine. There'll be discussions, but that's only for the academic work. We also will have a program through Georgia Goes Global for our phones. We'll talk about phones another day, but that's kind of a chat program. But I always like having just kind of a generic social media thing. And I know not everybody likes Facebook. I know a lot of you, for your own things, you might use Instagram or WhatsApp or, whatever else is out there. But Facebook is, I know it's where your parents are, it's where your grandparents are, but it's kind of why it's good to use because it is kind of a central repository of all the photos that you want to share. And, it's a nice way we can get photos from each other. If I do create it, because I haven't done it yet, you're under no obligation to join it, because I know it's really sensitive about things like Facebook. People are funny about the privacy issues. I get it, but it is going to be available if you want to join it. I can't promise when, but I'll definitely before we go. And I'll use it also as a way to maybe upload music, documentaries that maybe I find that might be of interest to you, anything that relates to Scotland, that something you might be interested in before we go. And then while we're there and once we get back, it's a way to share, again, a way to share photos and videos of what we did over there. So anyway, look for that coming up. And these videos too, I'll upload to Facebook if and when I create that page, giving myself an out there. So today, what I want to talk about, and I'll try to keep this fairly short, is really two things. I want to talk a little bit about weather in Scotland, and this has to do with packing, and also about physical activity. And again, this has to do with packing, because both of these are things you might need to be thinking about earlier than later. So I'm going to switch screens here. I'm going to share a PowerPoint because I like showing images. And as I do this, I will say all the images on this particular PowerPoint are images from students or myself. Even this one, this is from a student named Hannah a few years ago. She was a great photographer. So again, I always try to use actual images as much as I can. And if I don't, in fact, actually, there's one that's not ours. You'll tell because it's an old photo. Because I really want it when we get over there. I don't want you to get over there and go, this looks nothing like what the brochure says. I'm very sensitive about that. I try not to say we're going to do something that we're not going to do. There's a couple little things that are going to be different from past years. There are a couple of, nothing too major, but there are a couple of sites that are closed. So we're going to do other stuff instead. Nothing major. But still, I do try to be very, very careful not to, you know, do a bait and switch on you, if you will. Anyway, so what I'd like to talk a little bit about today is weather. So it's kind of I think it's still rainy outside, you know, so it's a good rainy day here in Quincy, Florida, where I live. And it's a good day to be talking about Scottish weather. So when we leave, whether you're session 1 and we're leaving on May 21st, which, oh, by the way, actually, one thing I just reminded myself. So I wanted to say right here at the beginning. So real quick, just to remind everybody of the dates, which I keep forgetting myself. You know, the first session is May 21st through June 3rd. That's a Saturday through a Friday. And then the second session is June 14th through 17th. Now, the reason I need to mention these dates, I forgot, Cassie wanted me to say this as soon as I could. I'll probably put this in the email as well. Some of you are buying your own plane tickets. You know, this is the first year where we really advertised 2 prices. We had kind of the with plane ticket price and then without plane ticket price. And so a lot of people, I mean, people have always had the option to opt out of the plane ticket and buy their own, but this is the first year we really kind of advertised that. And I know some of you are going to buy your own plane tickets instead of doing the group one. Sometimes you can beat the price. You know, it's always a little bit of a gamble, but a lot of times you can. Ironically, sometimes you end up being on the same plane even. But she was very concerned to make sure that people understood the dates. So for session 1, we leave Atlanta on May 21st, because that's where our flights are out of, is Atlanta, Georgia. And we arrive in Edinburgh, Scotland on Sunday, May 22nd. And I don't remember the exact time, sometime in the afternoon. And then we leave, actually, you guys, I'm staying. You guys will leave Friday, June 3rd from Edinburgh back to the US. And then the same for second session, Saturday, 4th of June, people are leaving out of Atlanta. And then they arrive June 5th in Edinburgh, and then that Friday, June 17th, for those coming home. Some people might stay longer because some people, especially doing their own flights, I'm going to stay longer. We'll be flying back on that Friday. The reason I say that, Cassie was, and I kind of agree with her. Some students may go, okay, I need to get a plane ticket so that I arrive in Edinburgh on the 21st, because that's the date of the program. And remember, that date does include the flying. So if you do arrive in Edinburgh, Scotland on Saturday, 21st of May, none of us will be there. And you'll need to find your own place to stay. So again, if you haven't bought your own plane tickets yet and you're planning to, make sure that you do indeed schedule accordingly. Now, you're allowed to go early if you wanted to, but you got to get your own housing. And you know, if you want to stay later, that's up to you, as you're on your own, but you got to get your own housing. So anyway, for those on the group flight, we'll have a bus take us from the airport to the hostel. It's about a 30-minute drive. For those who are flying on their own, you'll have to kind of come up with your own. Later, I'll talk about those who are flying on their own and how to get to the hostel. It's not hard. It's not hard. But anyway, I just want to, Cassie and I both want to make sure you guys, and Cassie's, of course, the person you've been communicating with and the person that's been asking for payments and all that. She's in Atlanta. She's with Georgia Goes Global. And pretty much most of the emails you sent have gone to Cassie and she's answered them. So for me, anything about the classes or the trip itself, you can email me directly. Anything about payments, even I think some of the airline stuff, you go to Cassie. She's the money person, basically. Okay, she tells me what I can spend and what I can't spend. Okay, now this is my email. Obviously, if you got my email because I sent this to you, but real quick, this is my email, and you can contact me. I may not always be able to answer it, but you're always allowed to contact me, of course. I'm a little slow on email sometimes. I don't always check it. That's I'm not. I used to be on the phone all the time checking email. I've kind of backed off. I check it only a couple times a day, but I will get back with you as soon as I can. All right, this is the one that's not our image. It's an old image from the 40s, which I love this image, partly because I just love old images of Edinburgh anyway, because it really hasn't changed that much. In fact, those stairs, we're going to be using those exact same stairs to go down to Waverly train station. This is called the Waverly Steps. Although So you can walk the steps, but now they have an escalator. Anyway, I like this image also because it's a good example of the weather in Scotland for a lot of the time we're going to be there. Scotland in May and June, which is really their spring. I mean, you know, everybody forgets summer really doesn't begin to June 21st, right? But we hit summer in Florida and Georgia by, you know, May 5th. We're already in summer, right? By the time we leave on May 21st or again on June 4th, it might be 100 degrees out already. Humidity is going to be through the roof or going to be sweaty. And you're going to think it's going to be so hot when I get there. And you're going to get there and it will not be hot. Or it could be. It could be, but it very likely won't be. Scotland, you know, growing up in Florida, I always heard, you know, people say, oh, if you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes. And then as I got older, I realized everybody says that. Georgians say it, Californians say it, Canadians say it, Icelanders. I actually heard that in Iceland the one time I went. Scotland is the only country I've ever been to where that's really true. We always say it in Florida because, you know, in the summer it rains, but so basically in the summer in Florida and Georgia, it's hot, it rains for an hour, then it's hot. That's not much change. Scotland, especially while we're there, you know, the May and June period, it's changing all the time. I mean, you can literally look at the sky and literally see the weather changing as you're, I mean, right there, you know. I remember one time being at Edinburgh Castle and it was rainy and I looked off in the distance, I could see a beam of sunlight shining through the clouds. Literally it came right at us. We were in the sun for a moment and then it went away. I've had days, no joke, days where it starts out rainy, well, actually foggy, rainy, sunny, hot, cold, sleet, rain again, and then sunny, all in one day. I mean, it's just, you know, so you got to be prepared for all of that. So rain is the biggest thing. This is one of my former students who also took great photos. But again, you can see the glasses, you know, it's raining. We don't stop what we're doing because of the rain. If you don't, you know, that's something I think a lot of people are used to looking at the weather and go, oh, it's going to rain. Okay, we'll stay home today. Nope. Only one time have we ever canceled an event because of weather. And it was actually the last time we were there. We were supposed to do a nature hike, which we're going to do too. And it was real, I mean, like truly stormy. And I was getting sick. 3 other students were getting sick. So we did end up canceling the day. The ranger really didn't want to do it either. That's the only time we've ever canceled since 2011 when I first started doing this program. So you can't cancel because of rain. We can adjust. We might stand under the, you know, under a shelter for a few moments, but we got to keep going. And most of the time, the rain in Scotland isn't hard rain. It's just it's almost like the sky is spitting on you. So that's with a P. But again, wind, rain. I mean, you got to go with it. So you do need to be prepared for that. Again, there's no predicting it might, this is taken right outside of our hostel where we'll be staying. I actually took it during breakfast through the window. So again, it might be sunny one moment, it might be rainy the next. I mean, the weather's hilarious there. You know, you actually watch the weather. There'll be spells of sunniness followed by some rain, followed by more sunniness. That's it. If you ask locals, what's the weather gonna be like? Who knows? I mean, that's literally the answer you will get. Again, a lot of times you get very heavy fog. One thing I want you to notice is Dr. Muth for session 1. This is the other professor. Notice in some of these images what we're wearing. You know, I mean, you see jackets, you see scarves. In fact, if you go back to this image, the person way on the left, I think is like, oh my God, it's so cold. Why are we standing here? Again, you can see it's pretty wet. And, you know, there we are doing an outdoor lecture, which we'll be sitting right in that same spot in a few weeks. But then other times it'll be nice and sunny out. Even though in this image, we're all still wearing jackets, as you may notice. Again, here's, you know, this is in St. Andrews. It's pretty rainy there. I put this image up here because the student in the red jacket, this was my very first year doing the Scotland program back in 2011. And I said some of the same stuff, and we got to Scotland, and all he brought with him was t-shirts and shorts. Now, he was a big kid. You know, he was a little bit warmer than some of us. He didn't have a jacket at that point. He just thought, it's hot, it's going to be hot over there. And he was miserable. Luckily, within the first couple of days, we managed to go buy a jacket, but he was freezing the whole time. And I remember thinking, like, I can't have this. I've had a couple other students do this, but not quite as extreme as him. But again, there's almost no predicting exactly what the weather is going to be like. This is sort of average temperatures for May in Scotland. So you see the completely average is about 50. Averages about 57 down to 43. 7 hours daily of sunlight. That doesn't mean the days are long as heck, as you'll see in a moment. But again, there's a lot of rain. 21 days in May on average is going to be rainy at least part of the day. June's a little bit warmer because it is June, but again, you can see from 55 is the average, high of 63 average to a low of 48, but even more rain. I remember the last time we went, 2019, the first 2 weeks, no rain whatsoever. It's the only time that's ever happened. There was absolutely no rain. It was sunny the whole time. Students were so disappointed because they were ready for that rain. The second 2 weeks, it did nothing but rain. My little 5-minute thing didn't work that time. That was the one we canceled, the one walk. Most of the time, though, it's about half and half, honestly. Even throughout the day, it's about half and half. I went back to some previous temperatures. This is April 2018, so not the last time, but the time before last. Very quickly, this is, looking in from late April into May. Again, you see the temperatures, highs, some cases 72, which can be quite warm when you're over there. But some highs are 55, 59. But look at those lows. I mean, you're talking 36, 37 lows at night. And this is May. And June is, again, June 2018. That was the first year we actually did 2 weeks. So we actually stayed until June. Again, even in June, you're seeing lows of 47, 46, highs barely in the 60s. It was actually a pretty chilly year that year. And again, here's some average temperatures here. This is going pretty far back, though. But you can see highs in the 50s, lows in the 40s, even a couple of 30s in there. Scotland's very weird in May and June. As you know, the Earth tilts. It's like it's warm in the summer and then tilts back against the sun in the winter. And so because you're a little bit further north as the Earth tilts, you're actually, oddly enough, a little closer to the sun in Scotland than you are down in, say, Florida or Georgia. So even though it's still chilly, when the sun is out and it's full sun, it can be really hot. Even if it's technically only 60 or 70 something, it can just really be amazing. It's kind of like having like this light shining on me. I'm starting to get a little bit warm just having that light shine on me. And that can be kind of tricky to negotiate. I mean, you can actually get a sunburn in Scotland, even though it's cold. So when it's full sun, a lot of times you do need to take off a jacket, take off a sweater. So you do need to dress in layers. But the one thing they don't have is the humidity. And growing up in the South, I never thought about humidity until I went to Britain and then came back after several weeks. And I went, oh my God, how do I live in this? You will have the same thing. If you've never lived outside of the South, you don't really know what humidity is until you leave and then you come back. And it is, I can remember getting off a plane one time because hearing students go, oh my God, like they just could not believe how the weather, and it takes you about a week to get used to it again. So at least we don't have to, even with all the rain, you don't really get the humidity over there that we get here. It's a dry heat, but it still gets hot. So let me go back to just say, not just looking at numbers. We'll just look at a couple of these images. So for packing, one suitcase, it has to be less than 50 pounds. That's the plane limit, That's for 2 weeks. So you do need to be thinking, and I'll do more videos on packing as well. But remember, take only what you need. Okay, you don't need to take everything. I mean, the rule is always, if take 5 outfits, wear them twice, mix and match them. I mean, you may have more underwear, but as far as shirts and pants and stuff, again, don't feel like you have to have an outfit for every single day. And dress in layers. I mean, I'm getting kind of hot because it is Florida. I personally wore a sweater today. So, again, you want, t-shirt, maybe another shirt, then a sweater, then maybe a jacket. That way you can take things off as you need to and put them back on. I probably won't wear this hat, but I usually do have a hat because it is raining and I'm bald. So I definitely need a hat for protecting from rain and from sun. This is usually where I get burnt right here. The hat I usually take is just a ball cap. In fact, this one hasn't made it to Scotland yet, but I've had a couple that look exactly like this that I wear. I love Canada, and it's very much a Scottish connection with Canada. I usually wear either some kind of bright color hat, and it probably will be this one, so that people can see me easily in the crowd. I think some of these images you see me wearing a similar type of hat, but and also ball caps are not as common in Britain as they are here. You will see them, but not everywhere. So usually if you see a ball cap, you're looking at an American. Anyway, but so I do recommend headgear to kind of protect your head. Very windy, so I don't have to worry about that part, but a lot of you have hair, it keeps your hair out of your eyes. Again, protects your head from the rain, also keeps it a little bit warm. Sometimes my wife has knitted me little beanies. I wear those sometimes, especially when it gets really cold. I don't usually wear a raincoat. In fact, you see me in this image wearing a black jacket. I see it's not waterproof, but it's water resistant. That usually does the trick. It's very rare that it's going to rain so much that it's going to soak through. It has happened, but rare. You can see some people are wearing shells of raincoats, but most are wearing some kind of jacket that keeps you warm. Because again, it's not going to be 20s, but it is going to be cool. So something that's going to keep you warm, but also keep you relatively dry. But again, you want something you can take off easily and carry easily and put back on. You don't need big coats for the most part. But again, everyone's different. So keep that in mind, but you don't want everything to be nothing but coats. And a trick about packing is if I do bring a coat or a big jacket, I wear it on the plane. And then the second I get on a plane, I can stick it overhead. That way I don't have to suck up suitcase space for big bulky jackets and things like that. So I always wear the heaviest thing, the biggest thing I have, I wear on the plane. They used to call it the hobo suitcase. You just wear what you're, and that way it doesn't suck up all that room in the suitcase because you're going to be buying stuff. You're going to bring it back. You do need space. Another little trick that I do sometimes, I often take old clothes, t-shirts, underwear, socks, even sometimes old shirts that I know I don't really want anymore. I wear while I'm there, throw away when I'm done. So again, it gives me more room to come back on. So again, you don't have to do 5 outfits, but that's kind of a set rule. I don't always follow it, but again, try to, once you pack, really think about like, do I need all of this stuff? Do I need a hair dryer? I don't. But you can rent a hair dryer at the hostel, for instance. Don't try to look and dress exactly the way you do every day back home. I know photos are important and social media is important. But again, look at these photos. You can see they look great, but they look regular. They're just wearing comfortable clothes. Really staying dry, staying warm, but also the ability to cool off when you need it. Because there'll be some days you're going to be hot and other days you're going to be freezing. You need to be able to adjust to both. So I do want you to be thinking about that. And for some people, it might mean getting a couple thin sweaters. This one's actually a little thicker for me. I usually wear very thin sweaters, so that it protects me from cold, but if it gets warm, it's not completely uncomfortable. But again, just kind of notice some of the ways people are dressing. Most of the images, people are dressed, except for that guy, the way you want to dress. So no shorts. If you absolutely need to bring a pair of shorts, bring one. I did wear shorts one time on a weekend because it was hot, but most of the time you don't need shorts. Okay. And I'll probably think of something else to say in a moment along those lines, but I think that's the main thing. I do know one thing for rain. I do not recommend an umbrella. Now, some have brought little tiny ones, and but you definitely don't want to bring a big one. First off, it's something you got to carry. Something gets in the way, you might not even need it. But the other thing is, remember that black and white image? It gets really windy in Scotland, and most locals don't bother with umbrellas because it's just going to mess up on you anyway. It's kind of hilarious. After a storm, you'll see umbrellas all over the street that people just threw because it didn't work. So I don't really recommend umbrellas. A poncho is not bad. You go to a dollar store, get a cheap one, stick it in your backpacks for the days it really gets rainy. You stick it on. But like I said, whatever you need, that's up to you. The other thing about hats, by the way, I wear glasses. It also protects your glasses from the water too. But just think about, if you're going to be in a rainy place or a cool place or a windy place, what do you need? And be thinking about that. Because again, coming from the South in May and June, we're all thinking hot. And every year, there's always students that after we get there, they go, I didn't believe you. That's why I always show the temperatures. So you go, oh my gosh, you're real. The other thing I want to talk about for a second too is the sunrise and sunsets. This is always shocking to everybody. So if you notice, this is this year, So for those going on the first session, so we'll leave on May 21st, you'll arrive on the 22nd. So that first night, Sunday night, the sun will go down about 9:30, which is pretty much, we don't get that late till about mid-June. So it'll already be a later day. But that Monday morning, the 23rd, 4:46 a.m., the sun comes up. By 5 a.m., it's going to be bright. And then as we get into June, the first group leaves on June 4th, 4:32 a.m. will be when the sun comes up. For the second session, by the time you leave, it'll be, I don't have it all the way to the bottom, but I think the 17th when you leave, so about 10:03 p.m. when the sun goes down. And again, before 4:30 when the sun comes up, it's mostly sunlight there. And even when the sun goes down, it's not really that dark. It's from about 6 o'clock to about 11 o'clock. It's just evening. I actually love it, but it's just like a long evening. And it's almost like time stops. It just stays evening forever. For some people, that's a problem. It is easy to stay up late without even thinking about it. And a lot of people wake up at 4 a.m. because it's sunny. So that's something you do. Some people need blindfolds. It's just something you need to be thinking about. So if that's something that's going to be a problem, because everyone's going to have windows in their room, and so you're going to see that sunlight. Also, people who live in the countryside, especially small towns, it's a little bit louder at night. Edinburgh is not terrible, but it's a little bit louder. It doesn't bother me, but it does bother a lot of the students. So some people do need earplugs, things like that. So just be thinking about that. Keep paying attention to the clothes. You'll notice again a mix of sweaters and short sleeves. This was a sunny day. And by the way, this is Dr. Christine Simmons Moore for those in the second session. She does the psychology classes in the second session. But the other thing I want you to pay attention to is, if you notice, almost every image, we've been outside. We're always on the go. Image on the left is at Edinburgh Castle. That's what we do the very first Monday morning. You can see it's almost always raining when we do that. We're at another castle on the other image, but notice we're outside. I'm lecturing outside. They're taking notes outside, even in the rain sometimes. Now, if it's really raining, we won't. But again, this is that first morning at Edinburgh Castle. It's always raining. I don't know why it is that first day. But again, we're always out. Sometimes we'll eat our lunches out. Unless it's storming, it doesn't matter if it's wet or not. We're going to be outside. Here you can see people delayering because it's starting to get a little bit warm. But again, we definitely need that stuff with us. So the reason I'm pointing all this out is not just about the weather. I think you've gotten that point already, but we're going to be moving a lot. So you need clothes that are comfortable, in particular, shoes. Now, every year at orientation, I talk about how you don't have to get in shape, but you need to get used to walking. And every year, there's always a couple of students, 19, 20, like, I'm in shape, I'm fine. And they're looking at me, this is just some old guy. And yet every year, those same students, about the third day, they're like, oh my God, how much are we going to walk today? My feet are killing me. And I'm doing great, even though I'm not in the greatest shape. It's because I'm used to walking. First off, I'm a professor. I'm used to being on my feet, but I walk every day. I always have. So most of you probably don't. We're in the South. We drive everywhere. I mean, I teach at a small college, and yet I have students that will drive from one building to another. Almost nobody walks. So this is March. We're almost into April. You need to start walking. You don't have to jog. You don't have to go to the gym. Just start walking every day. Go for an evening walk. Go for an hour walk every day. Just get used to it. Put a podcast on. Put a Scottish podcast on. Later, I'll be uploading some suggested podcasts for you from Scotland. And just walk. Every time students have done this, they always say they're glad they did it. And so many times, students that are not necessarily in great shape, maybe they're overweight, maybe they have physical conditions, but because they've walked for a while, they're doing fine. And the kids that are often in great shape, their feet are killing them because they're not used to the walking. I've had students that go to the gym, and yet their feet are killing them because they're not used to the walking. So just make sure that you have a good pair of shoes that are comfortable. This is the ones I wear. I think I wore these last time, actually. Although my wife did just buy me a new pair. These are really light, so I might end up using these. They're not waterproof, but they're water resistant. So that way, if I'm going through a puddle, my feet aren't getting wet. Now, if I stand there forever, I'll get wet. But they're both light. The other one's much lighter. But in fact, this one still has a tag on it. I got to start wearing this one. And that's the thing. If you need to buy a good pair of shoes, buy it now and start wearing them. You do not want to wear your shoe for the first time on the trip. It may not fit right. It's going to be stiff. You're going to get blisters. I remember one year we had a student that was really into photography, modeling, her getting photographed. And so she had all these cute outfits, and she had these boots that went up to her knees, and she's like, oh, I can't wait to wear this. It's going to be so cool. She was dying. By Tuesday, she was dying because they weren't for walking and she hadn't worn them much. And so again, get comfortable socks, comfortable pair of shoes. You may already have them, but if you need to get them now. Don't spend a lot of money. Comfort is everything. And again, if you look at most of the people in these images, they're wearing comfortable shoes. And if they're not wearing what's clearly comfortable shoes, I guarantee you they were not. I see some boots here. I got a feeling that person may not have been very comfortable. But anyway, so again, be thinking about your feet. And that's not just a Scottish thing. Anybody that does study abroad will tell you the same thing. That is always the biggest surprise, is how much people's feet hurt. And even those who are used to it, even our feet get sore. So anyway, those are the two. That's why I want to go ahead and record this video. I know I'm going a lot longer than I meant to. Sorry. I'm a professor. That's what we do. But again, the two things to be thinking about: what kind of warm clothes you need, but not too warm. You might need to go get some. Don't spend a lot of money. And same with shoes. Be thinking about that. Later, I'll have other videos about what. Oh, as I say that, I'm going to say, we are going to be very active. Like I said, there are a lot of stairs, and these are just a couple more images of people on our trips. So again, we'll be very, very active. Some of these people are being a little more active than we have to be, but nonetheless, I do want you to be thinking about the fact that we are going to be out and about a lot. In fact, we're going to be going to this cave on both sessions. So this is on the Owl of Arran. We're going to go hike to Standing Stones and things like that. So anyway, so I'm going to have other videos about, thinking about like things like medicine and money and credit cards and cell phones, some other things you need to be thinking about early. But anyway, I need to go ahead and end this because my gosh, this has gone on forever. Okay, thank you guys. And I'm so glad you're part of the program. I really am. Be patient with us. It's our, first time in 3 years, and it's going to be weird, but it's going to be great too. So thank you so much. Okay, guys, I will talk to you later as I slowly, awkwardly turn this off.